Number plates. Unless you're the King of England, your car will have one on. It gives it an identity, so you could be recognised by other road users, by the police and so on. An administrative tool, nothing more. But what if this took on a life of its own and became a legend? Well, I'm going to tell you the story today of one car where that actually happened. It's the Vauxhall Lotus Carlton, registration number 40RA. Basically, it was a missile. Vauxhall packed off its mild-mannered Carlton saloon car, known as the Opel Omega in Europe, to Lotus for a performance makeover. When it came back, it had an enlarged engine, it had twin turbos, under the bonnet it had 377 horsepower, it got to 60 miles an hour in just 5.2 seconds, and went to a top speed of 177 miles an hour, which at the time made it the world's fastest saloon car. Now, price at launch, £48,000, and in today's terms, that is £113,000. Now, it's not a surprise that they didn't actually produce that many. Just less than 1,000 left the production line of these cars. On November the 25th, not the 26th, as a lot of places claim, 1993, Vauxhall Lotus Carlton, registration number 40RA, was stolen from a small village in Worcestershire. Now, for the following 6 weeks, the gang that stole this car used it in 11 different raids on mainly places like newsagents to steal cigarettes, alcohol and gentlemen's magazines, apparently. I'm only going on the news reports at the time. The police themselves did admit, and there's one of the reports from the time, that the car was just too fast for them to catch. Yeah, urban-wise, they were running things like metros, which had 90, 100 mile an hour top speed, and this thing could do nearly 180. And there was rumours that even outran the police helicopter going up the M6 motorway near Birmingham. And then after 6 weeks, the raid stopped. And with the birth of the internet, the rumours started. You just have to go out there and Google 40RA, and you'll just see a whole plethora of possibilities of what's happened to this car. This car is so notorious, it's even available on Grand Theft Auto as a car you can drive. I looked at all these optimistic versions of what's happened to it, so I thought this really needs the Oscars garage touch for us all to find out what's really happened to 40RA. There was so much misinformation out there on the internet about what had happened to this car. Stories about it's never been recovered, it's in a warehouse, my mate's got it, all those kind of things. I decided to go old school. I went to the old school local newspapers. Now, the Birmingham Post reported on this, that the owner had been woken at 5 a.m. to the alarm going off on his Lotus Carlton. He went downstairs, and as we will find out later, he confirms he was virtually naked, and confronted the thieves. And for doing that, they punched him in the face. So they weren't able to get the car started at that point, so they were then pushing it away with another car that they'd stolen. So the owner wasn't going to be deterred. He got the keys to his wife's Renault Espace and set off in hot pursuit, as he could see his Lotus Carlton going off with the alarm going off, still being pushed down the road. So his wife rang the police. He set off chasing it, and I think he chased it for about 10 minutes, and they eventually, somewhere along the line, the thieves got the Carlton started, and as he was catching them up, they reversed back into him, damaging the Renault and basically putting him out of the chase. I've seen some recent Facebook posts by the owner, and as you'd expect, that correlates with the story that was in the newspaper, but he did add in the bit that he was almost in his birthday suit when he was confronted by the thieves. We have reached out to him for an interview, because wouldn't that be absolutely fantastic? However, I can see we're not the only ones to do that, and as far as I can see, he's turned them all down, which, RA, if you're out there watching it, and I hope you will be impressed with the work we've done on this one, it would be fantastic to come and do an interview with you. So after the owner lost track of it, the thieves then set about their rampage for the next 6 weeks. And interestingly, on the 7th of January, there were articles in a couple of the local newspapers refreshing everybody's memory about this car and its theft. Now, I think this was related to possibly the police trying to flush out the thieves, either to get the information on them so they could arrest them, or at least get them to stop using that car. And they succeeded. On Friday the 14th of January 1994, police received reports of a car in the canal near Solihull, which is to the east of Birmingham. Now, on the investigation, it was discovered this was Vauxhall Lotus Carlton 40RA. Now, I've looked up where this location was, and it was given as Church Lane Knoll. And as we can see, when I've used Street View, there is access from the opposite side of the canal to get a car in there, because you obviously need to get the car in there somehow. So we can see how it easily could have been done at that location. Here's the report at the time that was in the Birmingham Post newspaper. Now, bear in mind, obviously, this is an old school printed newspaper picture, but you can still see that the roof has had some significant damage, and it was believed this was caused by the car being hit by a canal barge while it was in the water. Now, they asked the owner for his opinion, and obviously he was very upset that the car had been destroyed, and he said he was now having to go to work in a Renault with a top speed of 95 miles an hour. Many years later, on Facebook, the owner did post again that he had visited the car while it was in the scrapyard, confirmed that there was this massive damage to the roof, and also that the car was a terribly horrible, smelly mess. With the car being immersed in water and the significant bodywork damage, I think it's inevitable this car was written off. Bear in mind, this was back in 1994. Yes, it was at the time an expensive car, but with that amount of damage, it would never have been repaired. And this is before the interweb, before all these conspiracy theory stories and all the wild rumours that have created ever since. So I think we're fairly confident the original 40RA was definitely scrapped. Once the car had been recovered, and we assume written off, the plate could have been retained by the original owner to put onto another vehicle. And as I think I may have touched on, the initials on the plate, the RA, is the initials of the owner. And they did, because a few years ago, this picture appeared on the internet of 40RA on a 2018 Hyundai Kona electric. Yeah, how the mighty have fallen. Not quite the place I would have expected it to turn up. But don't worry, October 2021, we look at my car check, we can now see it is on a Vauxhall Lotus Carlton again. It's back where it belongs. And before you all jump on your little keyboard saying, you see, I told you the original one had been restored, we'll go back to my car check and we'll look at the plate changes. And as you can see, this car has only been 40RA since October 21. Before that, it was under several other registrations. So this is a Vauxhall Lotus Carlton, but it's definitely not the one that ended up in the canal and got written off. So I think this is a really good lesson for everyone not to believe all the stuff you read on the internet about it never having been recovered, etc., etc. The story of 40RA was actually really a lot simpler than that. It was stolen, it was used in robberies, it was dumped in the canal, and it was scrapped. I really hope you've enjoyed that investigation, and if you have, please consider becoming one of our subscribers.